Get ready for the world's greatest Arsenal podcast. Welcome to another podcast by Guns and Yellow Ribbons. Enjoy the show.
Hello, welcome to another episode of Guns and Yellow Ribbons. My name is Fergus, I'm your host. I'm joined by a very ill man flu, very ill Trev, Johnny from the North Bank, and my capo sidekick as well, Dan, who may have his voice back after St. Gallen. Good job we don't have football tonight, because I think you would be absolutely screwed by the time the weekend came along. Dan, how are you doing? How's your voice?
Yeah, I've got it back. I've needed the break, in all fairness. If I'd have come back and gone Everton and then PSV, God, I wouldn't have had a voice. I was struggling a couple of days ago still.
I was struggling for a lot of other reasons, but here we go. Trev, it seems like forever since I've seen you.
Yeah, it's been a week, isn't it? I'm not very well, Ferg. I've dragged myself up for this tonight. I'm not in the mood, but I'm going to enjoy it because I always do enjoy these shows. I've not got COVID. I think I just picked up something while we were away, and I'm done. That's it. I'm done. But I'll let you do most of the talking tonight, and I'll just pull you up when you're wrong, which means I'll be doing a lot of talking, I know, but we'll see how it goes.
Johnny, he's just so unkind to me. You introduced me to this man. You introduced me. This is the introduction that I got. It was you to him, and here I am getting abused by him all the time. How are you doing, Johnny?
Yeah, I'm not too bad. I'm standing upright and sober, so better than you were in St. Gallen.
I think you know what I think. You probably are right. It's better than definitely some of us were in St. Gallen. Just to let's give you a little bit of a flavour of St. Gallen. So myself and Dan and Trev and Terry were in the pub, the Irish Bar in St. Gallen, and we were outside chatting to some Swiss guys, some English guys based in Switzerland, Meller and that, and he later filmed us on Twitter. Jesus Christ, I need to sue him. But we got interviewed by Blick TV, which is the equivalent of Sky Sports News or something like that in Switzerland, I think. Is it, Dan?
I think it's just, sports based, or they certainly cover a lot of sport in Switzerland. Yeah, not that I've heard of them much, but yeah.
But normally you're the lead, like the ringleader of the singing, and I just stand around like an epileptic and so on. But this time I took the lead, didn't I?
Well, you did a lot with the vocals, to be honest with you.
What happened was the guy interviewed me and he asked me a question about Granit Xhaka, and this was my response. There may have been a couple of beers. Trev, did we have one or two by then?
I'm sure I heard the bloke interviewing you say cut halfway through that.
I'm sure he shook my hand and said, thanks very much. Little did he know it would be an embarrassment to my friends, my family and my wife.
It was a steady afternoon and evening, wasn't it? We had a good few beers. The beer wasn't cheap, but it wasn't as expensive as we thought it would be. And it weren't a bad drop of beer either. So all in all, I was quite happy with it, to be honest. And they sold alcohol in the ground when we got there. So double win for me, yeah. From that perspective, it's a good trip, but that's about the only perspective, really.
Well, look, the beer was good, as you say. I bought beers. I don't have any photographic evidence of Trevor buying any beer at all. But I do have photographic evidence of myself and Trev at Kybun Park, which is a stadium that's on top of a shopping centre. And as Trevor always does, he tries to have a chat and charm his way in onto getting a few photographs where people wouldn't normally get photographs. And we got some photos in pitch side, but we just didn't walk on the grass. They were actually very nice, weren't they, Trev?
Yeah, they were. There was a couple of lads there, and they had no problem at all, did they? No problem at all with letting us in and letting us have a quick look. It's a tidy little ground. It was in St. Gallen, which isn't Zurich's normal home ground. We had to play in St. Gallen, which I think is a better football stadium from what I can make out.
Just a bit. That's what the Swiss guy said, isn't it?
The other one's an athletic stadium. That's why you couldn't go there.
Yeah, there was an event, an athletics event on there, but the Swiss guy who were chatting to, Trev, he said that St. Gallen was actually a better quality stadium and also had closer to the pitch, so which was interesting. But definitely. What was nice is there was beers had by all, lots of beers. Look, let's do this. Let's press play over here. This is what beer does to somebody. So, like, show your kids. Yeah.
Embarrassing, mate. That's embarrassing.
It is.
I'm blaming you. I was there great.
Listen, I was the one who didn't want any more beer, and you're the one who turned up at half time with it. And to be honest, towards the end of it, I was a man down, and I did have to I did have to leave early, unfortunately, because the German sausage and everything else did take hold. Listen, look, I've got Trevor WhatsApping me on my phone. I just looked at my phone, and he's calling me something to do with anchors and stuff like that. But Trev did buy a beer, and there is evidence of Trev buying a beer. Let me bring it up, Trev, so that you don't feel so guilty. It is a rare occasion, so I did take a photograph. Let me see if I can bring this up. 1 second. No, not that one. That one. There we go. There we go. Look, he bought a beer. Terry.
That isn't proof, Fergus. That isn't just proof that I buy a beer. That's proof that you're full of bullcrap, because who actually took the picture, Fergus? Who took the picture, Fergus? There you go, then.
That's evidence. Evidence. But mind you, before we get on to the game itself, St. Gallen, you were mostly in Zurich, Dan, but Trev, myself and yourself, we on and Terry, we on the Wednesday night, we got into St. Gallen, we went down to the Irish bar, done a recce on the place, paid a spleen and half a heart for a burger and chips, and then we got a taxi for about 1 mile down the road at 25 quid a mile and stuff. And we found this little pizza place, the only place we could find for a beer, because we said, like, we'd done the podcast, and they were watching something on YouTube. Talk to us about this, Trev.
Yeah, they were. Yeah, when I walked in there was big smiles and that, and there we were on the telly, Fergus. Famous. Didn't give us a free beer though, did they? Still charged £5.50 a can of pop.
For a can of beer poured into a pint glass, which the can of beer costs about £2 over the garage across the road. Look, listen, the game was it was a 2-1 game. It was definitely a different game for many reasons, which we'll go into. But I honestly had to look back at replays. And highlights. It was a long day. It was definitely very liquid. I invested all my English assets into liquid stock rather than physical stock, and it took its toll in the end, I think. After a year out of Europe, Matt Turner appeared in goal. John, talk to me about the lineup. So we had Matt Turner in goal, Tomiyasu, Holding, Gabriel, Tierney, Lokonga, Xhaka, Vieira, Marquinhos,
Marquinhos.
Mispronounced that. Marquinhos. There you see, I knew I'd mispronounced it already. Eddie Nketiah and Martinelli. What did you make of the lineup?
I was surprised to see Turner, but it's nice to see that we're actually going to go with a cup keeper. I always liked when we did that until we get to the business end, and then we put your proper keeper in. But I think I'm a bit disappointed for young Ramsdale though, because he hasn't actually played any European football, so I would have liked to have seen him start.
I think in hindsight, with the Everton and PSV game getting postponed, which we'll talk for the reasons about that afterwards, he could have played, but I think under normal rotation rules, and not rules, but prudence,
policies.
With the it made sense to put Matt Turner on. Dan, I'm going to ask you, what did you make of Matt Turner's very early error that nearly led to a goal? Do you remember?
You have to remind me on that one. To be fair, no, I rewatched the game the next day on the way to Milan. While I was there, I had obviously a quick bit of a long trip, so I rewatched the whole game. Certainly nothing stood out for me. I'm quite pleased with that team. The fact that we've got quite a bit of depth to our team and depth to our squad. And I think, like Arteta always says, if they're training well, they deserve a run out. And I think that's the case for a lot of them. And I think the more you play them, the better competition and the more they push each other to keep improving. So it's only a good thing for me.
Trev, you left me and Dan singing and teaching this young Swiss kid of 10 rude words and songs and so on, mostly led by me, I must add. But what did you make of the lineup yourself?
Yeah, we see. I can remember a bit more than you boys because with European away trips in particular, I like to just. I know when I've had enough beer to be very, very merry, but still watch the game, and I do like to watch the games abroad. So that's why I disappeared off and left YouTube and went and sat up the rear of the stand. I was happy with the team. I said last week that I wasn't sure whether Turner or Ramsdale would play. I thought that Ramsdale might play, but he put Turner in and he made an early mistake. But after that, he looked very accomplished. But I couldn't see us losing that game from the first kick. I couldn't see a real threat in that Zurich side. And to be honest, we made loads of changes, but it's not like in previous years where we've made loads of changes and you've got youth team players or people just emerging coming into the side. We had a very good side of players that we all know, we've all watched, we all know they're capable. And I don't think they let us down on the night, really. It should have been more comfortable. We were unlucky to give away the penalty, I thought. But, overall, I was very happy with it. And one or two that came in showed that we have actually got a decent bench. I'll just name a couple. I mean, Tomiyasu came back and played a full game, which was lovely to see. I thought that Holding once again didn't let us down, never lets us down, Holding. People on his back need to leave him alone. I thought he did really, really well. And then, I'm going to name a couple. Vieira looked quality, and Marquinhos is finished for his goal, You boys won't remember, but he's finished for his goal. He had to take it first time. Many, many, many players, because it was off the floor when he hit it, many, many, many players would have put that over the bar, would have skied that, and he took it really well. So overall, I was very happy with it, Ferg. Very happy indeed.
Johnny, Trev talked on some of the depth in the squad and so on, but Marquinhos, who was meant to go out on loan, and don't do me on pronunciation, it's just that's what he's going to be now. He was meant to go out on loan, but we've kept him because we couldn't get another winger in replace of Pepe. He got his debut goal, Eddie assist, and as Trev said, it was a screamer. It was a really good goal, only because of
it was a really good goal. It was a great build up as well, and a lot of the depth that we brought in all combined, it started quite far back, and you look at all the players that we brought in played it exceptionally well. But Lokonga, nobody's mentioned Lokonga. He had a brilliant game again. I thought he was quite the linchpin in the middle and allowed Fabio Vieira to kind of push forward a little bit more. I thought that was very good. And Marquinhos, he got a goal and an assist. Eddie got a goal and an assist. I thought it was a solid performance, but we didn't put our foot on their windpipe. As we could have got 4-5 goals, and I think we should have done that.
So, Trev, talk to me about the penalty then. Says you were probably at that stage. I think me and Dan were probably a little bit hazy at that stage. Talk to us about the penalty. Eddie went in with a very rash tackle, and it was a bit. It was a penalty.
Don't forget what Johnny just said about we didn't put the foot on the windpipe. We can come back to that after because it's a really interesting point, Johnny. Really interesting point, Johnny makes. Well, you see, I've watched it back, and I'm thinking that the player that got fouled coming from behind Eddie, I think Eddie swung his foot and he hadn't seen the player behind him. He just thought he was clearing the ball. It was no way a deliberate foul. I side with Eddie here. I might get some grief over it, but I thought he was unlucky. The player coming from the blind side just got a leg in front of him as Eddie went to clear the ball, and Eddie kicked his leg. That was how I saw it, and I thought, well, that could happen to anybody. That's unlucky. He's just really, really drawn the short straw there with the timing of the player coming in and him trying to clear the ball. So he has no blame from me, Eddie. It was a complete and utter accident. Didn't mean it, and he gave away a penalty. Yeah, but we move on. It's not Eddie's fault.
Totally agree. No.
Before we go into Johnny's point, because it's in the second half.
Wait. Do you agree as well? These boys agree. Do you agree as well? You can't remember, can you?
I have watched back extended highlights, but yeah. I to be honest, I do remember this next point. It was a very poignant moment. It's a point that everybody will remember where they were at one moment in time. I remember 25 years ago when Princess Di died. I will now never forget the moment that we heard the sad news that the Queen passed away. We had heard throughout the day about a few bits and pieces, not as much as people would have seen in the UK. And we tried to observe, the Arsenal fans tried to observe a minute's silence, which, correct me if I'm wrong, we did impeccably, but we were heckled and booed down strangely by a neutral nation that is Switzerland in Zurich. And I've personally, on a personal note, I've never sang God Save the Queen or God Save the King. Being an Irishman, I've always respected it, but I sang my bloody lungs out when that minute finished, because out of respect for somebody who's such a world leader and figurehead. Dan, talk to us about that moment, and I'll go to Trev.
Yeah, even just then putting the picture up gave me a little bit of goosebumps again. I think no matter what your opinion is of royalty and the Queen, there should be respect for someone that's passed. It's someone's mother, someone's grandmother, someone's family. And as a lot of people say, if you've got nothing nice to say, then say nothing. So sit there, be quiet, have your moment silence, and let everyone else pay your respects if they wish to. It's a shame to have people booing like that. But as you said, the Arsenal fans, I think, were brilliant, as a lot of fans were. I've seen a lot of West Ham fans, for example, and you've seen Rangers fans last night. Really good to see. But yeah, it's obviously a sad moment, and as you said, never forget where we were when we heard the news, and obviously paying respects, and good to see the fans on our side show respect.
Trev, it was a weird away day, as we've all said, sitting in the car listening to Catherine Jenkins and so on. But it was a weird away day venue, and it had been moved from Zurich, etc. But then for that moment to happen and hear that news, it just changed. It changed it quite a lot, didn't it?
Yeah, well, to be honest, Ferg, you've sort of tied it into what Johnny said there already. We sat there at half time. It had just gone to half time, and I got back in. I'd gone and got a beer and got back in, sat next to Terry, and Terry showed me his phone. He said, "Look, breaking news: the Queen's passed away." And I'm very much a royalist, Fergus. That's what I am, and I don't mind telling people. I respect other people's views, unless they get rude and nasty with them views. Then I tend to get rude and nasty back. But I'm a royalist, and it put me on a right downer. I thought, oh well, my word, I'm 60 years old, and that's the only monarch I've ever known. Massive part of so many people's lives. So we sat there just in a bit somber, really, Terry and myself. And then all the Arsenal squad were warming up on the pitch, all the subs and the rest of the squad. And suddenly they were waving. They all disappeared. They all disappeared off the pitch, every Arsenal player. And I said to Terry, are they going to come out? What are they going to do? So I would imagine, who knows for sure, that the players didn't know. So obviously they've called them all in to tell the players what has happened and that they're going to have this minute silence after half time. Which was impeccably observed by the Arsenal fans. We must say it wasn't impeccably observed by the Zurich fans, but most of them observed it. We must say that. Just the noisy ones, noisy few idiots. And then we were away again. And that's I'm sort of using that as an excuse to tie in with what Johnny said about not putting the game to bed. I'm wondering at half time, they've been a bit shell-shocked. They come out for the second half thinking, blimey, the Queen's died. It's a bad situation. We're going to have a minute silence. And I think that's probably I'm putting that down to the reason why we didn't put our foot on the pedal and really put the game to bed, Ferg.
To be honest, I did pick up on what Johnny said, and I wanted to get the point in about halftime first, but I think it did have an impact on the crowd. I do think it had an impact on some of the players. But Johnny, 3 substitutions were made on 69th minute. It's about the same time as I substituted myself into a cab. And Jesus came on. I don't know who else came on. The 2 other players.
Zinchenko came on.
Zinchenko, yeah. And who else?
Odegaard, I think.
Yes. So
Yeah,
you think that changed it up, and there was a bit more. It seemed to be a bit more impetus from what I've seen on the replays in the game, and we looked like we could have got another couple of goals, and even Zero could have got one at the death. What was your thoughts?
Just want to point out that when we came back out after half time, every single player had a black armband on.
Correct.
Which they didn't have in the first half, obviously. And secondly, just to mark it, the club actually stopped their broadcast at halftime of the game out of respect, which I was a bit confused by. I wasn't watching it, but I heard about it afterwards, doing it halfway. And they stopped talking about it, stopped broadcasting the audio of the game. But the subs, going back to the subs, they did make a big difference. But I think it was more of a rotation because there was inevitability. I felt it. There was a bit of an inevitability about us scoring yet another goal, but it just never seemed to come. I don't think players like Tomiyasu probably wouldn't have played so many minutes because I think Cedric got an injury before the team flew out, so he never travelled with the squad. So I would have expected more of a rotation there, but. It just seemed to like peter out a little bit, I really thought we could have really pushed on and got some more. I was very impressed with Marquinhos. He was a very, very good full debut for the boy. Very impressed with him, and Fabio Vieira as well. Very, very good.
61 minutes in, Eddie Nketiah gets a header from a set piece. Dan Marquinhos. I think I pronounced it right this time. With the assist, how was that celebrated in the grounds? Because it's hazy.
Yeah, I think there was celebrations all day. Obviously, I think exactly as you said, the sort of scenes and everything at halftime. The sad news did put a bit of a downer on everyone. I think it did feel a bit flat for a while, but I think of everyone having so much to drink, that quickly did pick up a bit for most. Myself included, and I think the winner was celebrated quite well. Eddie, another one. I thought Eddie looked quite sharp. Apart from the penalty, as we said, which could happen to anyone, and I think it's definitely a penalty. But he had a good game. The ball for Marquinhos for the first goal was a brilliant ball from Eddie, and then to take it as he did, great finish. This is a guy that's not had that many minutes this year, but every single minute he's had, we've all said he looks a bit fitter, sharper, and stronger. So maybe the competition is really pushing him on as well. And I think we'll see him play a big part this season, really. He's second striker and he's going to get quite a few minutes for us.
I think he's bulked up quite a bit, though. He might be having the same personal trainer as you, mate.
That's a really valid point because we saw him towards the end of last season and there was contract talks and everything else about him. He's now come back and he knows he's not going to be number one because Jesus is going to be way ahead of him. He knows he's only going to play a bit part. Yet again, when he's coming on the pitch, he is giving his all, don't you think, Trev?
I think that Eddie's a very honest striker and a decent young man. And that header he scored, oh God, where were we last season when he missed one very similar right in front
Nottingham
of goal?
Forest.
Like
Nottingham Forest.
Everton.
Exactly the same goal. He missed it, and this time he's put it away. If I'm honest, I think Eddie's a good striker, and he's going to be a very good striker. How can I put it? I'd still like to see another striker in Arsenal Football Club. I'd still like to see another striker playing for Arsenal Football Club. That's how I'll put it. But Eddie's doing nothing wrong at the moment. His effort levels are high. and hopefully between him and Jesus, they'll score plenty of goals this season. I do just have to apologise to when it comes to goal scorers. I have to apologise to Erling Haaland because I think I was recorded as saying that Jesus would score more goals than Erling Haaland this season. I'd like to retract that statement, please.
I think that's probably a prudent move on there.
I think he's going to score more goals than Nottingham Forest. On his own.
He probably will. If all the Nottingham Forest signings scored 2 goals each, I think that probably equate to what he might score this season. Now, what they signed 21 players, so he scored 40 goals in the Bundesliga. And me personally, if you look at the Haaland thing, I thought he'd come into the Premier League, and because the Premier League is faster, stronger, and everything else, I thought that he might struggle, but he's not looking that way. And I saw his goal last night after. I know you guys were watching live. I watched it afterwards, and what a goal! What an assist as well for that goal. But let's not talk about Manchester City. The aftermath of Zurich. I couldn't make it back to the pub, but I know one Moroccan Sunset guy did. It was quite lively over there. You had to get all the way back to Zurich as well, Dan, and you left there, 1 o'clock in the morning?
Honestly, I'm not really sure what time I left. I know I remember I got into my hotel about 12:30, so I made it well before the last train, and I made it back with the help of a lovely couple of Zurich fans. So a big thank you to them, because they definitely pointed me in the right direction of which platform to get on, I can tell you that. But
I tell you what, you've a habit of doing it. You've done that in Manchester as well. You've done that in Manchester as well, having to get a Manchester fan to help you back onto a tram. It's becoming a running theme, isn't it?
In that direction too. Never mind.
Didn't you end up with a Brentford programme in your pocket the other week at the Arsenal?
I had a programme for the Brentford Everton game. Yeah, I don't know how I got the Brentford Everton programme, but yeah, I think that's a game.
You know what? That's
not worried about you, mate.
It's almost like we designed that. We didn't play Everton this Sunday, so that game was cancelled. So you see the little link in there? The game against Everton was cancelled this Sunday and done myself and Dan probably a bit of a favour. 1, for our livers, and 2, also for our voices, because my voice was a little bit croaky. Dan's definitely was. And then PSV, which should be tonight, right now, the game should be playing, has been cancelled. And the reason behind that, clearly because of the events that are going on in London, but also that PSV were probably going to do something similar to Cologne did, and bring extra fans over and maybe jib the stadium or whatever. Not saying that necessarily we're planning to, but there definitely would have been very exuberant fans. And I know they've got a good reputation, or not so good reputation, whatever way you want to look at it. So it would have been an extra strain on the police force. Trev, Brentford's gone ahead. I know you're not coming down for that, and thankfully I've been sorted out via yourself and Terry for a ticket. So I'm going to Brentford. It's been moved to 12 o'clock kickoff, which is really, really, well, it's probably easy for me for getting home, because I might be home by midnight. I only live about 30 miles away or 20 miles away. It's just the most awkward place in the world to go to. What are you hoping for Brentford? Like, me and you went there last season, first game of the season, first game that Brentford had in the Premier League, first in the top flight in 73 years. We had a touch of COVID in the squad, and we ended up losing 2-0, and it was awful. The experience that we had there. I know what you're hoping for. What are you expecting on Sunday?
Yeah, firstly, Fergus, I agree with you, mate. Horrible stadium to get to and from, especially from, because I shut all the stations within about a 5-mile radius. And horrible result last season, but I feel very confident. I feel very confident about us this weekend. Having said that, I felt confidence last season. But I can't see us losing to Brentford. I think if we got our players back fit, we're too good a side. We're too strong in all areas of the field for them. I think their one threat is that striker. What's his name? I can't remember his name now.
Ivan Toney.
Ivan Toney. That's their one threat, and I don't think that he'll be good enough to outplay our defenders who are playing very well at the moment. So I'm confident of an Arsenal win on Sunday.
Johnny, second season.
That one well.
What's that?
Ivan Toney, you got that one right.
It's not bloody difficult, is it? It's not even foreign. So I'm all right with that.
Oh,
Ivan and Tony.
for you, that was quite good, I thought.
Yeah. I can pronounce Dan as well, so that's all right. Johnny, you threw me now. Ivan Toney.
Johnny.
Ivan Toney.
That German sausage doing him a mischief again.
I think it is. Will he be buoyed with his England call-up? You know, and where else do you see a threat coming from Brentford?
I think one, Ivan Toney deserves his call-up. I think it's a bit overdue, to be honest with you. And I think he'll probably score. He's more likely to score than the window licker from up the road. But their other threats, they have got some decent players. Their Danish boy is quite good. I can't remember his name. Darmsgaard, I think his name is. He's quite tasty. Obviously, Mbeumo is a tried and tested player. He's quite good as well. I think they're just a well-oiled machine. You know, Thomas Frank has got them playing in the right way, and pretty much like Potter did with Brighton. He's just got that right way of doing things. But we've got the better version in the other dugout. So we've got better players, and we've got the Tequila boy playing in the defence now, and he's going to be full strength. And then we've got probably going to have Thomas Partey back as well. But I think Sambi deserves to keep his place and let Partey sit on the bench in case we need him.
Dan, thoughts on the Brentford game, and you know where you seen the main threats, and at the end give us your score prediction.
I'm expecting a really, really difficult game. I'm fully confident in our boys, and I do still think like we'll nick the win. But Brentford at home are a very different animal. You know, 7 points from 9 this year already, I think, and is it 2 from 3 on the road? You know, at home they're a much, much better team. Very, very compact side. They can defend well, always up for the fight. You know, any 50-50 ball, they'll make it a 60-40. And then look, as they said up top, you know, Ivan Toney and Mbeumo, very, very good up top.
Hold your score prediction. Carry on, but hold your score prediction because I remember the question I was going to ask Johnny in a second. Go on.
Score prediction. I'm going to go.
No. I said hold your score prediction. Talk about what you think about the game. I've got Johnny's question.
Yeah, go on. So, they're a very good side. I think they're quite potent as well. As I said, very good up top. Very, very strong physical side as well. And they've got a bit about them now that they can play. Obviously, they've lost Ericsson, but they've replaced him this year. Tough place to go. Crowd as well has a big impact. But yeah, I think we've got enough about us now. And I think different to Johnny, I think I'd definitely put Partey straight back in for me. The Congo's done nothing wrong, but for me, Partey is a big, big step up on anyone we have in that midfield, and he's massive to us, especially in a very, very tight game that's going to be played at a tough place.
I think it'd be a mistake to rush him back, though. Don't you think? I mean, he is injury prone. So if we've got a slightly less difficult game, then I would leave him on the bench.
I don't think this is a less difficult game, though. I really don't. I think this is a very, very tough game, and I think people underestimate Brentford. There are a lot of clubs that's going to go to Brentford this year and have a very tough game. They are very good at home.
So that links me into, Johnny, the question I was going to ask you before I asked you about Ivan Toney, second season syndrome. Everyone talks about the second season syndrome. Are Brentford suffering from that? You know, are they still... there's not a club you can't fear in the Premier League because it's quite a fair and open league in the main. But, you know, what's your thoughts on second season syndrome and Brentford?
Well, second season syndrome is always to do with the fact that you're no longer an unknown entity, and then people have had a chance to suss you out, you know. And they have a very organised way of playing, and I think he's managed to develop it a little bit more. So I don't think he'll be suffering for being in the second season. But they won't finish as high as they did last season at all.
Okay. Johnny, give us your score prediction for this game.
3-1 to the Arsenal.
3-1 to the Arsenal. Dan?
2-1 to Arsenal for me.
2-1. And Trev, your score prediction?
3-0.
Sorry,
3-0.
boys, someone's at my door. I'll have to text you
Okay,
later.
that's all right. No worries.
Kick me out for a minute.
3-0. 3-0. But but Dan's exactly right. Brentford are a good side, capable of beating anybody on their day. But I really do think we have improved enough to be able to sort these teams out, and I'm confident we'll get a win. Maybe we'll all eat our words next week, but I don't care. I'm confident we'll get a win on Sunday.
I'm going for a reverse score that we had last year. I'm going to go for 2-0 for the Arsenal. Trev, with these games that have been postponed, we've got 2 games, the Everton game and because of the PSG being rescheduled on the 20th of October, allowing a lot of people to go see Lewis Dunford on the 19th on the Wednesday, which is good for a lot of fans. That means we've got 2 games that we're going to carry over, but in October, on top of that, we've got 9 games in October. Spurs at home, Bodo at home, Liverpool at home, Bodo away, Leeds away, PSV at home, Southampton away, PSV away, and Forest at home. That's a shed load of games, isn't it?
So not only have we got 9 games in 30 days, we've got 2 European trips as well. But to be honest with you, Fergus, a lot of people are saying, well, we've had to postpone games because our poor Queen passed away. I'm not having any of that. This is what happens when greedy, money-grabbing people decide to schedule a World Cup in the winter right in the middle of everybody's football seasons. There was absolutely no room for manoeuvre with the having to shut down. Not only have they shut down, but they're allowing international breaks as well before next week's an international break. It's absolutely never have I had more proof that our poor game is all about the money now. Money. They had the World Cup because that lot that are hosting it, what are they called, probably paid the most money for it. And it could have been anything. We could have had a couple of weeks of snow later in the season, or we could have had some bad rain now and the grounds are unplayable. And there's absolutely no room for manoeuvre, mate. And the only people that they've got to blame is themselves, not anybody else. Scheduling a World Cup in the middle of winter, I'm not even going to watch it. I'm not that interested in international football anyway. I will watch it if sometimes. But do you know what? I can honestly say, and I love football. People know how much I love football, all types of football. But I can honestly say I've not given this World Cup approaching a second thought. I honestly haven't. I'm not interested. I think the game's gone too far. Too much money's been passed about, and scheduling, as I said, a competition in the middle of most people's football seasons is downright stupid. And if we end up in a mess, they get what they deserve.
I totally agree, actually.
Let's not forget about this World Cup. How many of the workers died building the grounds?
Listen, I don't know all about that. I don't know enough facts to even get into a debate about you with that. And I know.
Let's keep it light. Let's keep it light and move on.
Yeah, exactly. Just to drop that grenade in the middle there, Johnny. Eh? Thank you very much. Boom. But yeah, listen, I totally agree with you, Trev. For myself personally, the World Cup, Ireland aren't in it. I will keep an eye. I'll keep abreast of it. I'll watch some of the bigger games, but it's a month off football, and it's a month off football in the winter when I actually like watching the football. It's great that the season started a little bit earlier because we've had some sunny days and shorts and beers and stuff like that. But Yep, Johnny, keeping it like 9 games in October. Which ones are the ones that you're looking forward to most? Spurs, Liverpool, Leeds, Southampton, Forest are the European games.
For me, it's going to be the North London derby because one, I'm going to get to go to it, which is good because I'm not going to get to many games this season, and probably I want to. I can't say I'm looking forward to it, but I think it would be a good yardstick when we play Liverpool to see how far we've come, especially if we've got everybody fit, to see actually how we measure up against one of the best teams in the world. So for me, it's number one is North London derby. Always, that's always the first fixture I look at when the fixtures come out, and the Liverpool match. But is it any more condensed than a Christmas period that we would normally have? I don't think it is.
I think it is. At Christmas you get 3 or 4 games, but you don't get 9 games in that period of time. It is like I think bar 1 week, there's definitely 2 games. When you're in European football, there's generally 2 games. There's 2 games, but most of them are quite big. Like Spurs is a big game. Bodo's going to be difficult. The travelling to go to Bodo, and you're playing an artificial pitch as well, above the Arctic Circle. That's not going to be easy. Liverpool at home, as you said, is going to be a big test. Leeds away, never an easy game. I said, then you got PSV at home and away, Southampton away. You know, last season we went there, played our socks off, and Forster had the best game of his career for us to lose. And Forest, well, who knows? We have not played them before. Dan, thoughts on that 9-game fixture block? Expensive.
I'll start with what Trev said, and I think I agree with him 100% exactly what he said. I think most fans are the same. Everyone prefers watching their club compared to international football. International football is not the same sort of gravy for me. Having said that, look, I love getting behind the country, and some of the scenes you get, you know, if we get to the latter rounds, is great. And tournament football for me, if it's on every few days and every other day, it's brilliant because I've got loads of football to watch. But it's nothing like watching the Arsenal. I'm a bit more upbeat about the October ones. I'm quite happy for me. Yes, it's a lot of games. I get to watch my Arsenal games every 3 or 4 days. So for me, October's fantastic. You know, it starts off beginning of the month, huge game, North London derby. Let's go smash that lot. Brilliant. Got my birthday on the 4th. Then it goes to Bodo away. You know, we've got some tough games in that month as well. Like I said, Liverpool, but at the moment, the form we're in, bring it on. And then got some fantastic away trips. Obviously, lucky enough to be able to go to Leeds and then PSV. Really looking forward to those great trips with great people again. So for me, October's a fantastic month, and if they can squeeze another game in there, I'd take it.
Yeah, 7 games. I've just looked at the list on here. 7 out of those 9 games, home and away, I'm going to. I'm not doing Bodo away. Trevor, are you still going to go to Bodo?
I think I am, Ferg. I'm not going to get a ticket, mate. I'm absolutely. And do you know what? I back the club in what they're doing. I'm not going to bore everyone with what the club are doing. Because there's so few tickets, it gives the club a really good opportunity to monitor exactly who gets the tickets. So I'm not going to call the club out for that. They're doing what they think is right. It means that I won't get a ticket because I'm not in the top 404. But what I don't want to see is I don't want to get there and see people that I know don't have the vouchers or the credits that I do going to watch the game with a ticket, because then I'll start asking questions. So at the moment, I'm not unhappy with what they're doing. They're trying to clamp down on people buying tickets for others. They're trying to clamp down on one person buying tickets and collecting them and giving them out to everyone else. So, yeah, I hope it works. But if I get to Bodo and I see people going in the ground with a ticket that have less credits than me, or I know don't have the right to have that ticket through their own qualification, then I'll start asking questions. But I want to dwell on October, Fergus, because it's interesting listening to you boys. It's a lot of football in October, but I'm not scared of any of them games in October. We've got to remember we've lost 1 game this season, and the game we lost at Manchester United, every single one of us knows we were the better side. We had the better players. I think we were just a bit naive on the day, and and maybe just a bit inexperienced at that level in that crowd. And
maybe VAR.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm trying not
bit.
to mention it because
No, I
seems to me
know.
that nowadays you don't talk about the goal scorers, you don't talk about the defenders, you don't talk about the players. The first thing people talk about is the referee and the VAR. So I'm going to try and leave that. But I'm not scared of any of them games in October. They are all winnable. I think we'll probably get to the end of October with some injuries. It wouldn't be surprised me if Partey and Tierney are back and then gone out again because they are prone, the lads, to an injury. But I honestly think, having seen, as Dan said earlier, and having seen who's come in, and Johnny said about who's been turning out for us in the game in Zurich in particular, I'm not worried about who we bring in. I'm worried about our experience and learning from the mistakes we made at Man United. Their goals were from our defence just getting caught on the op, right? And I'm surprised I say that, but it's true. And then, of course, the substitutions, we all think, well, most of us think that maybe that was the wrong thing to do at that time because we were still on top of the game. So I'm not worried. Don't be scared about October from our footballing abilities. I'm very confident in our footballing abilities to win any game we play, including Manchester City, who I think are the best club side in the world at the moment. What worries me most is how many injuries we get, can we carry them, and how do we come out at the end of October? If we could come out at the end of October still in the top 2 or 3 in the league, I know people will say, oh, we've dropped off the top. I won't be so concerned. If we can come through that period and keep ourselves in the fight, I'll be very happy.
No, to be honest, I was chatting to somebody today, and they're not an avid football fan, like in the sense that to go to as many games as us guys go to and so on. So I'm not criticising, but they follow West Ham and they like a bit of Arsenal and they're from the Millwall area. So to give you a flavour of what they're talking about, but they come along and said City, they couldn't see anybody. We were talking about Haaland, couldn't see anybody getting past City, but they actually said that they could see the way Arsenal are playing at the moment. Seriously, maybe challenging, but definitely, could end up in second position by the end of the season. I think it's way too early to say. I think that the tests. Listen, top four for me would be
rubbish.
Perfect.
Rubbish. Don't think anything below first, Fergus. That's where we are now. That's how you got to get your mindset, son. First, that's where we want to be.
Oh.
And we are capable.
Trev, I love you to bits, mate. Honestly, I had 4 hours of that positivity in the car. Honestly, I was ready to hang myself by the end of it. Joking, mate. You know that.
I believe even a Mr. Wenger this week has come out and said he still believes that we may even be out of challenge for the title. He said top 4 should, I can't remember the exact words, but top 4 should be a very big possibility and don't rule out challenging for the title.
But, Dan...
he left us in.
But Dan, you know what, and Trev as well to a point. 4 hours of Catherine. Jesus, yeah, it was. Catherine Jenkins. He loves her. He's got a poster up of her. And Jesus, we had to listen to the whole way. That and punk, some dodgy Irish punk. What were they called?
Oh, Flogging Molly.
Flogging Molly. Yeah, I thought that was a Cockney rhyme and slang for something, but but Dan, you're right. What's the point of being in a competition if you don't think you can win it?
Exactly that. I genuinely believe we can challenge, and I know a lot of people laugh when I sing we're top of the league, and there is an element of a joke to it. There's also a part of it as me as a fan. When we're top of the league, I'm going to absolutely celebrate every single second of it. And while we are top of the league, I'm still going to be dreaming that we can win it. And I do believe with the improvements we've made, I don't think we'll be far off that. Stranger things have happened in the Premier League with Leicester winning the league. And for me, we've got a better squad than they had that year. Wenger said there is not at the moment one dominant side in the Premier League. I do feel like City look a bit more dominant, but they have dropped like a few points here and there. And they've dropped points like they did at Villa when no one expected it. It can happen.
Liverpool definitely don't look like the team they have been in the past. Chelsea, with change of management, look, I don't know. That seemed to all a bit very strange, bringing Aubameyang in, who was Tuchel's man. Tottenham, they look okay at times, and then they look crap at other times. They're
What's
very
your
sporting. They were very
And it's right on
sporting.
Tuesday.
They were very sporting to make history, being the first team to lose a game of football under His Royal Highness King Charles III. So that will forever be in the history book. So thank you for that. Steve, in the chat, Flog and Molly are great. You listen to Flog and Molly on the A2 through the San Bernardino tunnel for 2 hours. And you tell me how great they are, mate. Honestly, Terry, you got my back on this one.
I've
Guys,
got no idea what they are, if I'm totally.
They're some Irish punk band. Yeah.
They're good. They're very good.
Okay.
Let's put it this way. They're better than listening to Terry and Fergus. Mind you, having said that, anything's better than listening to Terry and Fergus. So, yeah.
And Steve agrees with me now. He doesn't like him that much. So, listen. So, guys, not much to talk about more than that. We've got a game at the weekend, an international break, and we'll probably take a week off. I would have thought, and let Trevor recover. And unless there's some huge breaking news between now and then, we'll chat to people in probably about 10 days' time. Dan, I will see you. I won't see you Sunday, will I? Unless a ticket comes up.
I'm working on it.
No.
That's a possibility, but I don't know yet.
All right. Well, let me know. Johnny, I'll see you on the Northumberland Derby. It's going to be 12:30 in the early afternoon, so I will be extremely drunk, as you would expect. Yeah.
And I'll be sober as a judge, as is medically advised.
Okay. And Trev, you're off on holidays, aren't you?
I am. I'm off to Corfu on Tuesday morning for 11 nights, and I'm ready for it, to be honest with you, mate. Fergus, you see our good friend Ben Bennett, right?
Yeah,
we all know
great
it.
Point.
And that point he makes there, right? October is tough and a real test for this squad. Will tell us a lot about how the season could pan out, even at this early stage. It's so right, but it's not. That's not just about the players, right? Ben Bennett is one of the most vociferous top Arsenal fans I know. Yeah, and I know for a fact that we could lose. Hopefully, we won't, but we could lose every game in October, and Ben Bennett will still be there, stood up, roaring his head off, cheering our great side on. And that's the test for all our fans. We've got to keep this support up. It's amazing the support we've had. Hopefully we'll win every game in October and the support will be flying. But regardless of what happens in October, our support has got to carry us through the season now. Ben will be doing it and we've all got to join him. Right, that's me done.
And Nobby makes a great point as well, because we talked about Tottenham making history under King Charles III. Arsenal were also the first team to win across Europe under King Charles III. So that will go in the history books as well. Which is a great point. I never thought of that one, Nobby. I'll tell you, I've been winding up with my Spurs mates about that. And now I'm going to add that one to it as well. I'll just embellish a little bit further. Listen, if you like what we do, I know we're stuck on YouTube tonight and Twitter live. We're not on Facebook because Facebook keeps on playing us up a bit funny. So jump onto the YouTube channel. The guys that are watching now, can you just click the subscribe and like button and let other people know who are watching it to like and subscribe? We're up to about almost 800 subscribers, so we would love to get to 1,000 before Christmas. Ben, definitely we'll see you Sunday, and yeah, we'll be singing loud and proud, and hopefully Dan can get a ticket as well. You have been watching an Arsenal podcast by Arsenal fans.
This isn't funny now, right? Ferg, this isn't funny now, right? We just got to say one thing before we go with a straight face, right? We've got to say one thing. Rest in peace, Your Majesty. God save the Queen. God save the King. I'm done.
That was the most significant Trevor Tom I've ever heard. It is. It is. Definitely is. God save the Colonel. Sorry, I shouldn't do that. That's almost blasphemous, isn't it?
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, you're gonna bloody get it when you see Zeus.
Yeah, I know that. Johnny, thank you for joining us. I know it's been a little while. It'd be good to see you again when we see you on Tottenham and a couple of games. I know there's lots of reasons why you can't get to football, all very, very noble and personal and stuff. But when you are outside Block 5, Block 6, this fella is normally standing around Moroccan sunset. I always have to correct myself. With a flag around him, and normally an epileptic old 50-year-old dancing around. Normally inebriated, but we have a good old time.
Just look for the bloke wearing the shirt that's 4 sizes too small. You'll find him.
No, Fergus
Dan.
fits very nicely in his shirt.
Up the arse, people.
Also,
You've been
Oh, look, he's
Oh, go on.
Can't believe you cut him off. So rude.
Go on, Alison.
easy, you're
What were you going to say?
I was going to have
What were you going to say?
bit of Moroccan sunset time then. No, I was going to say just one thing to touch on what you've both said there about Block 5, Block 6 fans and people singing, etc. We've started to really get a good crowd going outside Block 5 and Block 6, and obviously we've got a couple of weeks break now between now and the next home game. But let's really not let it drop. Next couple of weeks, rest your voices, enjoy having a little bit of a break. But when we come back, loud, proud, same area, let's keep it going throughout the whole of October and into the rest of the season. So enjoy it, have a laugh, bring your mates, have a sing song, and have a few beers and enjoy it. Exactly as they just said. Do that.
You've been listening to Guns and Yellow Ribbons, an Arsenal podcast by Arsenal fans for Arsenal fans. Follow us on Facebook at Guns and Yellow Ribbons and Twitter at Guns and Ribbons. And remember to rate and review us too.